Hello! Welcome to the Lunch Bunch. This is Lunch Bunch number 5 now, and today we are talking about Where the Mountain Meets the Moon by Grace Lin. We'll give people a couple of minutes to show up. Oh, I suppose I should show what I'm eating too. Today I'm having banana bread with raspberries. I thought that the lovely color of the raspberries would match the beautiful cover for Grace's book. So as I said, this is now Lunch Bunch number 5. So I think most people may know how this works, but my name is Bill. And how we're going to go through this is basically, I'll talk about the book a little bit, give a little bit of an introduction to this wonderful story that I hope you all enjoyed as much as I did, and continue to enjoy, actually. And then I'll talk about my sort of 3 favorite things about the book. If you have things that you want to add, please chime in the chat. Let me know. Throughout this, I will be snacking on my delicious banana bread, and hopefully you all have something tasty for lunch as well. And then after that, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. Ask them at any time, but especially at the end if you have any. And then I have a couple of recommendations for what you should read if you liked Where the Mountain Meets the Moon. And again, I hope you all did. So Where the Mountain Meets the Moon is by the enormously talented Grace Lin. And it is about a young girl named Minli who lives with her parents in a small village. And Minli, I'll talk about a little bit more about Minli in a second. But basically what happens is Minli purchases a goldfish from a goldfish seller. And it turns out that this goldfish can talk. And all Minli wants to know is how to find the old man in the moon, because her father has told her all of these stories about this old man. And it said that he knows everything. And what Minli wants to know more than anything is how she can improve her family's fortune. And so she asks the goldfish, which turns out to be a talking goldfish. And the goldfish tells her how to find the old man in the moon. And then Minli sets off on an adventure to find the old man and ask him her question. And along the way, she meets many amazing characters. So we can just segue straight into my favorite thing about this book. My number 1 favorite thing about this book is Minli. She is incredible. She is fiercely intelligent, brave, a great friend, while also just being incredibly relatably vulnerable. There are a couple times where you see her be scared or unsure, or she really misses her parents because she's traveling for parts of this by herself and moving without her parents, who she's always been around. And throughout the time, she just is herself and amazing. I think particularly, as usual, I say this every time, but just so people know, I try to avoid spoilers when talking about these books, just in case you didn't have time to finish this book, or if you're maybe watching with someone who hasn't finished it yet. So I'll try to keep most of what happens in the latter part of this story out of this discussion, so to speak. But one of my favorite illustrations of Minli being amazing happens relatively early in the book, I suppose. And she's found her way to a city, and she has to find the guardian of the city. And she assumes that that guardian will be the king. And she befriends this young buffalo boy who has a pet buffalo. And the buffalo boy finds out from his friend that the king will be out in the village the next day. And Minli is looking everywhere for the king and notices a beggar asking a peach seller for some peaches, and the peach seller refuses, but says that if anyone is willing to buy a peach, then they can do so. So Minli uses the last of the money that she brought with her on this journey to buy this old beggar man a peach. And then this magically turns into to the beggar man planting a tree from the peach seed, and like the tree grows magically, and then she follows the beggar man and realizes that he's actually the key. So by being smart and generous and empathetic, Min Lee learns what she came to that city to learn, not by harming anyone or treating anyone badly, but by being kind and smart. And I think that's really important. Hello to any new viewers. We are today talking about Where the Mountain Meets the Moon by Grace Lin. And this will actually segue nicely into my second favorite thing about this book, which is Grace's incredible artwork. So Grace Lin is one of those authors that I think legitimately writes well for every age group. She's a remarkably accomplished picture book author. She's written early readers, chapter books, middle grade, everything, and she excels at all of that. And here her illustrations are so stunning. And I think it's such a special treat that they're all in full color. It's so rare that you get to see that. And Grace's artwork really captures all of the magic in the story. And there's tons of it. Like I just mentioned, like a peach tree growing instantaneously. The dragon that Min Lee befriends. The talking goldfish. And all of that is beautifully captured by Grace's artwork, which has just such an immediately classic feel. It feels like you're reading a book of like illustrated fairy tales or folk stories. And it's just incredible. Oh, I love Grace's Windows and Mirrors TED Talk. And I saw her give a similar talk to that in person once. She's incredible. So aside from just this book here, one of my favorite things about Grace is her advocacy for increased diversity in children's books. And she talks about, as Tasha mentioned in the chat, the importance of children having both windows and mirrors in their books, basically meaning that it's important for children to see themselves reflected in books, and also to be able to see a window into the lives of other children who may not have the same background, the same beliefs, the same culture as other children. I am a very firm believer in that. And it's been very heartening to see in recent years books published that childhood me would have loved to have read. And Grace is an incredible advocate for that. And if you want to look at that Windows and Mirrors talk, it's amazing. I love it. But yes, Grace is an award-winning illustrator in addition to being an author capable of just spinning magic out of words. And I think the illustrations that she does here are just so special and so lovely, and make this story, which is already so special in its own right, just feel even more magical and classic. And they're such a gift to children. And so I guess my third favorite thing, this is less of a great segue. And again, I'm gonna take a bite of my banana bread before I get too far into this. My third favorite thing about this book are the stories. I'm a huge lover of fairy tales, of folk stories. And I love that part of the way that Min Lee's story unfolds includes little stories that are nested into almost every chapter in the book. Whether it's her father telling her a story, the dragon telling her a story, the king telling her a story. And all of these stories over the course of the book start to weave together beautifully. And I love that. And I think so much of this book conveys the power that stories have for all of us. But I think some of the things that I remember most about like starting out as a reader are those stories that I don't know, have stayed with me. I had a book of illustrated fairy tales by Eric Carle. Gorgeous illustrations in his wonderful style. And that stayed with me forever. And now Grace has made this book, Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, that I think accomplishes something similar. There are all of these stories in there that are just, I don't know, they're so lovely. And they feel like fairy tales. And some of them are inspired by parts of Chinese mythology and folklore, but they all weave into this story that is being told now about Minli. And I think that's beautiful. Oh, do I have a favorite story? I do love the Wukong story. I think that one is fantastic. My favorite story, you know, can I say this? Yeah, I think I can say this without giving it too much away. My favorite is the story of the village of Moonrain, because I just love the image of the pearls raining from the sky. And I think it's just really lovely. And that whole passage where Grace describes Minli seeing the flowers and the leaves that grow in that village, I just think is so visually stunning. But it's like you can just see it so clearly in your mind because she's such a lovely writer. Yeah, I think that is my favorite. And I think it ties really nicely into the ending of the story as well. So yes, my third favorite thing about this book is just all of the stories that are nested into it. And specifically, that I think is remarkable is that they all weave together into Minli's story somehow by the end of the book. Again, I'm not giving away spoilers, but every story that you hear someone tell Minli or another character over the course of the book, it all matters and it all comes to bear on Minli's tale. And I think that's incredible and it's beautiful. And this book is such a gift and I love it so much. So usually I like to share kid reviews. And this time we have a special treat because we actually had a kid review by way of another author. So we had a review come in from Dusty Bowling, who is an amazing middle grade author. She has a new book coming this fall called The Canyon's Edge. That's wonderful and is really lovely. And I hope you all look that up. It'll be out in, I believe, September. And she loves this series, and she said her children love it as well. The direct quote, "My children and I absolutely love this book." And Dusty, I could not agree more. I think this book is a treasure. I have always been very happy when I see schools reading this book. I worked with a school once, and their entire school, kindergarten all the way up to 6th grade, read this book. And it made me so happy because this is just the kind of book that, like, I don't know, it changes things. I love that. And it's just a wonderful feat of storytelling. And so if you liked Where the Mountain Meets the Moon as much as I do, I have a couple of recommendations for other books that you should check out. Definitely. This book is part of a loose series, I would say. There is Starry River of the Sky, which is a prequel, and When the Sea Turned Silver, which is a sequel. And they're all connected. Characters that you see or that you meet for the first time in Where the Mountain Meets the Moon pop up again in the other two books. And again, you get Grace's gorgeous artwork and wonderful, detailed, like, heartwarming storytelling. So definitely check out those. But I also highly recommend Ava Evergreen, Semi-Magical Witch, which is coming out in August. It reminds me so much of Kiki's Delivery Service, which was one of my absolute favorite movies when I was younger. And it still is. I still watch that movie regularly. And Ava is an amazing main character, just like Minli. showing wonderful determination, learning how to be a witch. And she's got a great flame fox as well, who I'm a sucker for good animal companions. Dragon is, I love Dragon so much. And then my final recommendation is a book that we've already talked about in the Lunch Bunch, The Wishing Spell. As I said, I love fairy tales. And one thing that I think both Chris Colfer and Grace Lin do incredibly well in their books is just weave together stories that may be slightly familiar to you or you think you know, or you may have no familiarity with whatsoever. And just weave them together in really fun ways, all in the service of telling the story of new characters. So if you, like me, love the stories in Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, definitely check out the Land of Stories series as well. So unless anyone has any other questions or comments or anything they would like to share, that will bring our Lunch Bunch for today to an end. Thank you all for being here and for listening and for reading Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, because it's a remarkable book and I love it so much. Please, oh, you're so welcome, Tasha. Thank you for being a part of this. And join me again in 2 weeks' time. We're going to be talking about The Mysterious Benedict Society, which I absolutely adore and I think is just a wonderfully fun read. The puzzles, all of the puzzles. And we'll get into that in 2 weeks' time. When we talk about The Mysterious Benedict, I can talk, I swear. The Mysterious Benedict Society by Trenton Lee Stewart. 2 weeks. Again, my name is Bill. Thank you for coming to the Lunch Bunch. Stay safe and well. Bye now.